الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, this is lesson number 4 of our commentary on the principles of Sufism, Qwa'id Attasawuf of Imam Ahmad Zarruq rahimahullah tabarak wa ta'ala. Last time we spoke about several things and we reached to principle number 6. Actually, I found that when I read Arabic and then English and then start commenting, that takes a lot of time. And therefore, I think you can go back to the Arabic text. I don't know, did I put the Arabic text here or I didn't put it so that anybody wants it, you can get it. Um, but anyway, I can send you I can download the book and then you can get it. And therefore, you can benefit from the Arabic text. But for me, I'll try to read only the English text so that we don't lose a lot of time. Okay? So this is the case, inshallah. So therefore, today uh, we'll read this. So we read to principle number 6. Okay. So he says here in principle number 6, uh, the technical term for something points to its definition and makes one sense its reality. The term corresponds to its contents and fixes its meaning without obs, uh, obscurity of apostation to any judicial or customary principle, nor must it abolish any fundamental or secondary axiom or current contradicts either a legal conclusion or legal proposition. Assuming the term has been inflected and properly vowelized, there can be no ground for rejecting it. The noun Sufism, Tasawwuf, is of that category because it is an Arabic word that is understood perfectly, derived, non misleading, ambiguous, and clear. Actually, its etymology gives us an idea of its meaning, just as jurisprudence does for the general rules of Islam and exterior action. And just as the principle the principles of religion do for the principles of faith and the implementation of its meaning, whatever it held to be necessary in the domains of jurisprudence and principles of faith is necessary also in Sufism, for they are all equal both in principle and traditional authority. Now, what does he want to say here? Now, many people don't agree about the word Sufism. They say, why should we call this type of knowledge Sufism? Let us just call it purification, tazkiyah, or let us call it ihsan, as it is in the Quran, in the Sunnah. So Imam Abu Abbas Ahmad Zarruq rahimahullah says, no, we don't have to do that because the word is an Arabic word according to what he believes. But what I told you is that the word Sufism actually, according to Abu Rayhan al-Bayruni and others, is derived from Greek, not from an Arabic word. But he's going to mention the Arabic meanings of Sufism because he believes that it's Arabic. So anyway, he says as long as the meaning is doesn't have any problem in it, as long as it doesn't contain anything wrong, so why should we reject the name? Like when we speak about uh, jurisprudence, fiqh, or speak about the fundamentals of religion, which is faith. So you don't have any problem about that. But here, actually, there is a problem. There is a problem here. The problem is that the problem is that the Sufism contains or contained, according along in centuries, a lot of false meanings. So nowadays, when you speak to people and tell them, well, so and so is a Sufi, or this is Tasawwuf, or whatever, what do people think? They think that those Sufis are those guys who go to the shrines and start begging them and praying to them and so, and they go and start dancing and singing gospel songs and whatever and practicing lots of innovations. So they say this is the soul. What is the soul? Soul is innovations. That's it. So therefore, there is a conflict about the name. So if you say so and so is a Sufi, nowadays the meaning is not a proper meaning. And therefore, he says that the name is an Arabic name, which means that when you use it in Arabic, it's a proper name. And he's going to mention where did it come from. So actually, I don't agree a lot about what he's saying, but if we can say that if we speak about Sufism, which means purification of the heart and this type of knowledge, it's a knowledge that takes care of training mankind to be close to God Almighty and stuff like that. Well, yeah, there's no problem about the name as long as the name gives these meanings. But if it doesn't give these meanings anymore, and the names um, uh, became mixed with a lots of uh, wrong meanings, therefore, if we avoid it, it'll be better. This is what I think about this this principle. Now, principle number 7 says principle number 7. Yeah. Now here he's gonna mention the meanings of the soul according to what he believes. He says uh, etymology requires that the meaning of the derived noun and its root be taken into consideration. The meaning of the derived word is to be perceived from the word itself. Okay? If the meanings are multiple, the principle of the perspectives are multiple. If synthesis is possible, then it's to be made from all of them. If not, then everyone takes into account a single idea. So understand. Providing the word is free of contradiction in its origin. Many explanations have been made about the derivation of the word Sufism. The explanation closes uh, closets. The explanations closets to the truth are 5. So now he's going to mention the 5 expected roots of the word Sufi. So he says, first, those who say that the term is derived from the piece of wool, sufa, the reason is that the Sufi vis-a-vis God is like a piece of wool tossed, tossed on a ground with neither will nor direction. Okay, so therefore, it's like a piece of wool. The wind goes and takes it, and wherever it goes, so he is under the authority of God, and God does with him whatever he wants. Okay. Second, the term is derived from the lock of hair on the nape of the neck. صوفة القفا. صوفة القفا. Not القفا, القفا. Because of its softness. So that the hair here, it's soft here on your neck. So it's soft. So like the Sufi, like this lock of hair. So the Sufi is like this lock of hair. He has a soft and flexible nature. So the Sufi has a soft and flexible nature that he's like the hair here. So he's a soft, poor guy. Is what he says. This is to say that the Sufi is characterized ittasafa. So he is no the third, yeah. The third, the third, the term is derived from attributes as-sifa. As-sifa. As-sifa is attributes. This is to say that the Sufi is characterized ittasafa by performing good deeds and turning away from bad qualities. So therefore, the Sufi ittasafa bis-sifat al-hasana. He has good qualities, so he is Sufi. This is what he says. Fourth, the term derived from purity, at-safa. So he's Safi. Safa means purity. Abu al-Fath al-Busti, rahimahullah, has confirmed this, going so far to say in a poem, an Arabic poem, people have argued and differed about the term Sufi. Some think it derived from wool, suf, as I mentioned last time. I don't grant this name save to the noble person who dealt purity with God and was purified till he was called a Sufi. صفى فصوفي حتى سمي الصوفي. This is what he says. تخالف الناس في الصوفي واختلفوا جهلا وظنوه مشتقا من الصوفي ولست أنحل هذا الاسم غير فتى صفى فصوفي حتى سمي الصوفي. So Abu al-Fath al-Busti says that this this name is not derived from wool, Abu al-Fath al-Busti says, but it's derived from somebody who is pure. Somebody who's pure. Okay? Very fine. Number 5. The fifth, the term is derived from the bench, as-suffa. You know Ashab Suffa? You remember Ashab Suffa in the companions of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They used to saddle in a place in the Masjid Nabawi, and that place is a bit high. It's known until now. It's called Dukkat al-Aghawat until now. I remember my grandfather used to always sit there, and many respected.
So, okay, so we said that these are the five suggestions that Imam Abu al-Abbas Ahmad Zarruq, rahimahullah, suggests for the name of Sufi. I said that Ahl Sufa are the ones that used to were the poor guys of the Sahaba. They just come, they spend their time in worshiping Allah, in jihad, and in studying. And they were poor. The Prophet ﷺ used to consider them as the guests of Islam. So they used to study and work hard and spend their time in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they said that these Sufis are like these guys, so we call them Ahl Sufa or Sufis. But actually, if you go back to the referation, or when you say this word is this guy is referred to this word. If we say he is referred to Sufa because he's with Allah, like the Sufa, like a wool that is thrown and the wind just blows it. Okay, you can say Sufi about this. This is Sufi, yes. But if you say it's from Sufatul Qafa, yeah, Sufa, you can say Sufi. If you refer it to it, it's in Arabic, it's proper, yeah. But if you say Sufa, it's not referred to it. Or Sifa, attributes, it's a Sifi, you have to say Sifi, not Sufi. If you say from Safa, you have to say Safa'i, not Sufi. If you want to say from Sufa, you have Sufi, not Sufi. So actually, that's why I told you that Ibn Taymiyyah and others said no, it's referred to Suf, wool, because the ancient Sufis used to wear wool clothes. Or if you can say, because they are like a piece of wool that the wind keeps on blowing it. So wherever it goes, it's... But actually, as I told you, others say, no, the word is an old word, and it's an ancient word that comes from Greek. So it's referred to Sufa, which is wisdom in Latin, like Abu Rayhan al-Bayruni says. Okay. Now, principle number 8. In observing the rules of conduct of his procedures, of his predecessor, the follower is subject. The follower is subject to the same conditions, even though the predecessor has greater preeminence. In the beginning, the people of the bench, Sufa, were so poor that they were known as the guests of God, as I told you before. So they were called Adiyaful Islam, which is the guests of Islam. Later on, their ranks were joined by rich men and princes, and by those who worked for a living and the poor. They were thankful for their prosperity, then it excited, and were patient, then it did not. Whatever state they found themselves in, they didn't lose the attributes with which their Lord described them, namely, they call upon their Lord at the morning and evening, describing his countenance. يذكرون الله يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه. يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه. Likewise, they were not praised for the loss of their prosperity, but for seeking the face of the king, the judge. Okay, the judge, Allah Almighty. The later is not restricted either by poverty or wealth or the sufficiency. Therefore, Sufism is distinguished by neither poverty nor wealth, as long its possessor seeks the face of God. So understand. Okay. Now he says that the beginning of the people. Now, as I understand now from Imam Zarruq rahimahullah, that he chooses that Sufi, the word comes from Ahl Sufa. So he chooses this. And then he goes on giving more details. So he says that the people of Sufa, the people, Ahl Sufa, in the beginning, amongst them was Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, for example. They didn't stay poor guys. They became rich later on, and they became governors. Abu Hurairah was the governor of Medina, and he went as the governor of Al-Ahsa. So his situation changed, actually. And most of them like that, they changed. They didn't stay always poor, always needy, always so-and-so. But this didn't change their personality. He's rich, but he's still close to Allah. He's rich and he's a leader, but he still follows the right path. You see? So when they had money, they thanked Allah. And before that, when they were poor, they were patient and they thanked Allah as well. So they're always with Allah Almighty. This is the main idea. And that's why Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, when he was asked, if somebody has 1,000 in his pocket, could he be Zahid? That means somebody who doesn't think about this life. He said, Imam Ahmad, if it was in his hand, not in his heart. If it was in his hand, not in his heart. So therefore, he would be considered as a Zahid. Somebody close to Allah Almighty. And yeah. So therefore, he says that these pious guys didn't change when they had money. They didn't change, subhanallah al-azim, they didn't change even when the life changed. So they're like as they, and subhanallah, you find many people like that. Many pious people are like that, but there are others who change. I know somebody, I heard about somebody, he was so poor and needy, and he was, and then all of a sudden, he had lots of money for a case, a specific case. So when people came to him, he said, MashaAllah, now you have money. Please, there's a poor woman there. She needs money. He said, go away. I don't want to see you anymore. Look how he changed because he had money. And this means he's not good. He's not a good guy. He doesn't have a good heart, subhanallah al-azim. Okay? So this is the situation. So therefore, these aren't, look, he wants to say, you didn't praise these guys because they're poor. These guys aren't poor, aren't good because they're poor. These guys are praised because they are close to Allah Almighty. And subhanAllah, sometimes the exam, the trial, when you have money and you're rich or you have a high post, is more difficult than when you're poor and needy. So this is a beautiful, this is a beautiful principle. Now, principle number 9. The difference of relationship may be due to different realities, or it may be due to different levels in a single reality. Accordingly, it has been said that Sufism, poverty, leading a spiritual life under apparently blameworthy circumstances, and drowning near to God belong to the first category. And it has been said that they belong to the second category, which is correct. Sufi is he who strives to sift his time of everything but the truth. If he eliminates everything but the truth from himself, then he is a man of spiritual poverty, al-faqir. Faqir, that's why the Sufis, they call them al-fuqara. They have several names. They call them, In the ancient days, they used to call these types of guys الفقراء والمريدون والجوعية. That means they keep on hungry. And they had several names in the ancient days. The person who leads spiritual life under seemingly blameworthy conditions, al-malamiti, among the two categories, is he who neither manifests good nor harbors bad feelings towards anyone, like the artisans and tradesman who follows the path. The one who is drawn near to the one who is drawn near to God, al-muqarrab, is he whose spiritual states are perfect. Through his Lord he is, for the sake of his Lord. He has nothing to say about anything except the truth, nor has he any abode with whatever is other than God. So understand. طيب. Why do we have several referrings? This referring, this referring, this referring. Why do we have that? He said because the reality differs. The reality differs, and maybe the stages differ. So sometimes they say tasawuf, sometimes they say al-faqr, sometimes they say al-malama, sometimes they say taqrib, and just things like that. So if you say tasawuf, we mentioned what is tasawuf. If you say al-faqr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ أَنْتُمُ الْفُقَرَاءُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ هُوَ الْغَنِيُّ الْحَمِيدُ. So this means that faqr is poverty. Faqr is poverty, which means that you are when somebody is poor. So when we speak about somebody who is poor, we're speaking about poor. That means he needs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of us need Allah. No one doesn't need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So from this type, they refer them to al-fuqara. And that's true, yeah. And okay. So therefore, what is al-malama? Al-malama means blaming. Who are these malamitiya? They call them malamitiya. That means they are blamed people. Now we have two kinds of malama. We have a type of Sufis that used to hide all of their good attributes so that people will blame them. Say, oh, look at this guy. He doesn't pray and he doesn't. No, he doesn't pray. He's not a righteous person. But actually, he is a righteous person. He does all what he can do, but he doesn't make that near people. So people keep, and he claims that he's a normal guy that's like everybody, and he acts like that. So people keep on blaming him as if he's not a pious guy. This is a type of people, and we are asked to hide our good deeds usually, so that we don't show off and we don't lose our ajr. We don't lose our rewards. But there's other type of Sufis that they use to practice bad acts so that people can blame them, and then actually they claim that they're good pious guys. This is haram. How can you practice something forbidden so that people would blame you? So these malamitiya, they used to practice bad things, and this is actually that's wrong. So this is a type of this is a stage of Sufism, and I think this is when Sufis started to collapse or go down. They started doing these funny acts. But here, according to Imam Ibn Zarruq, he says that these malamitiya, they don't show good deeds, and they don't have in their hearts bad, no evil in their hearts. Like what? He says, like these normal guys, you find them working as people work. You find them, for example, sometimes doing some jobs that are for poor guys. Fixing, I don't know what. These types of works that aren't something high. So sometimes people can humiliate that guy. They say, "Well, look at this guy. He's a normal guy in the society." Okay. But then he mentioned these guys who are close, muqarrab. Muqarrab are close to Allah. He says these guys are the high rank because they completed all of the stages. And Sufis, when they speak about stages, they speak about tariq ilallah. Even they call tasawwuf at-tariq ilallah. And that's why Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he has a beautiful small book called طريق الهجرتين, طريق الهجرة, الطريق إلى الله, or الرسالة التبوكية, because he wrote it when he was traveling from Damascus to Hajj, and he wrote it in Tabuk. Tabuk is a city, North Arabia, North Hijaz, and it's known until now. It's close to Jordan. So Imam, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he has another very interesting book called طريق الهجرتين ومفتاح باب السعادتين, or something like that. So طريق الهجرتين, هجرة القلب وهجرة البدن. So you travel with your heart and with your body to Allah Almighty. You travel with your heart, that means purifying your heart, and you're going up, and you're going with your body, where you're practicing all types of worships. And he has a very, very, very beautiful book called Madarij al-Salikin. That means the stages of the ones going to Allah. بين مراتب إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. By the stages of إياك نعبد, we only worship you, and وإياك نستعين, and we only ask help from you. This is a verse in Surah Al-Fatiha, as you know. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. And this is a very, very interesting. I think this book is the best book that Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah wrote in purification of the hearts. It's a Sufi book, actually. It's a Sufi book because it was written by Abu Ismail al-Harawi rahimahullah, al-Hafiz Abu Ismail al-Harawi. He was a great Sufi in Herat, now in Afghanistan. It was considered as a great city in Khurasan. And his book, Manazil al-Sa'irin, was a very interesting book. And Imam al-Qayyim made his commentary on it, and it's a very... I remember I read only the summary of it a long time ago when I was still a teenager, and I felt as I was, it filled me with faith, subhanAllah. I felt it, subhanAllah, I felt it. I wish I could read it again, inshallah, and I want to read it again, inshallah. I would do that, inshallah, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. طيب, okay, principle number 10. Principle number 10. So he says here, he says because of a difference of ways, it doesn't follow that their goals are different. The goal may be one with different ways leading to it. Thus, religious observance, asceticism, and gnosis, asceticism, and gnosis are ways leading to nearness with God through spiritual grace. The three are intertwined with one another. The Gnostic must therefore observe religious rituals, for if he doesn't worship the object of his devotion, his knowledge is on no consequence. His observance of religious rituals must be accompanied by asceticism, for if he has no turned away from that, from what he is not he, from what is not he, then there is no spiritual substance in him. He who observes the ritual must partake of both asceticism and gnosis, for there can be no religious observance without knowledge, nor can there be any time set apart for religious observance except through asceticism. And the same holds true for asceticism, for there can be no asceticism without knowledge, nor can there be any without religious observance, otherwise it is worthless. Indeed, the devotee abid is the one mainly engaged in acts of devotion. The ascetic zahid is the one mainly concerned with abandoning the world, and the gnostic arif is the one mainly occupied in considering the disposition of the truth. All are Sufis, but God knows the best. Oh my God, this is going a bit deep. So what does he want to say here? He says that you might have several routes to Allah Almighty. You're going to God, you're worshiping God, but you might have several routes. It doesn't mean that this is better than this and this is better than this. All of them go to one way. Okay? Although the ways can be from here to there and from here to there, but in the end, they go to the same ending, which is reaching to Allah Almighty. Okay? So there are people who just worship. They go to Allah by worshiping. They keep on praying the night, fasting the days, paying lots of payments in the sake of Allah, practicing jihad in the sake of Allah, doing lots of worships. They stay praising Allah a lot. They stay after Salat al-Fajr. They keep on until the morning. All these types of worships, they practice them. Okay? Now this is ibadah. This is ibadah. Now we have asceticism, az-zuhd, which is you are worshipping Allah by forgetting about the life. You only wear one clothes. You have a normal house. Even your house, you don't find anything in it. It's a humble house. You have only one car. Or maybe you don't even have a car. You don't care about anything in the life except worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, this is zuhd. This is zuhd. Some Sahaba were like that. Many of the Sahaba were like that. But it doesn't mean always. I told you that Imam Ahmad was asked, is somebody who has 1,000 in his pocket, is he an ascetic? He said, well, if it was in his hand, it wasn't in his heart, he is. But if vice versa, no. Even if he has one penny in his heart, that means he's not an ascetic. Okay? And then he spoke about the Gnostic. He calls it Gnostic. That's how he translates it. But Al-Arif Billah, Al-Arif is somebody who knows Allah. It's for the word Ma'rifah. That means he knows Allah, and his heart is very high, knowing Allah Almighty. So he's worshiping Allah by his heart. So can you say that this one is better than this and this one is better than this? Every one of them has a path. And every path in the end, it's going to reach to Allah Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So the main idea is that every one of them is focusing on what he wants, so all of them are going to reach in the end to Allah. But can you imagine one of them without the others? No. An agnostic cannot be somebody who doesn't worship Allah. It's impossible. And an ascetic cannot be somebody who doesn't pray a lot and doesn't do anything. He just like sits like that and and doesn't take anything in this life, that's impossible. And all of them need knowledge. They can't worship Allah by ignorance. All of them need knowledge, you see? So therefore, these all in the end are connected to each other. This is what he wants to say. But someone has this more than the other, so we call him, yeah, this is abid, because we see him doing lots of ibadats, worships. And this is an agnostic, because we see how, mashallah, his heart is full of knowledge, and he's high, and you know. And then the other one is zahid, so we say, well, mashallah, he's a very zahid. But all of them have some of the other. And he says in the end, all of them are Sufis according to the term that he chooses and the way he's speaking about, not the Sufis that we know nowadays, okay? Okay. Number 11. Number 11. Everything has its adherence, a purpose, a place, and a reality. Sufism is suitable for whomsoever has true guidance, or for agnostic who has achieved realization, or for a sincere lover, or for a righteous seeker, or for a doctor of law who is bound by esoteric truths, or for a jurist who is bound by extended meaning of words. Sufism is not suitable for whomsoever is prejudiced by reason of his ignorance, or pretends to be knowledgeable, or speaks rashly in disputation, or is a stupid common man, or is a reflectant seeker of truth, or is a person determined to imitate blindly the great men he has in general known, but God knows the best. I don't know what he wants to say something here. What he's saying here is very interesting and very. I wish all Sufis read this book. Actually, I wish they read it and they study it and they practice it, because if they do so, we will not have this conflict between Sufis and Salafis and stuff like that. So look, he says every type of every group of people has its family, its people, and stuff like that. Okay, so, and reality and stuff like that. So let us see now. Sufism is to go towards Allah. Is to be agnostic. It's to be a lover, a real lover of Allah Almighty. Somebody who seeks knowledge of the reality, to be close to Allah Almighty. Somebody who is a jurist that searches for teaching people and giving them pure knowledge and stuff like that. But what about somebody who's ignorant, who keeps on condemning everybody, who keeps on throwing names for this guy and this guy and this guy? This is not a real Sufi, actually, he wants to say. Or somebody who just claims, I'm a Sufi. Yeah? What do you have from the Sufism? Well, I condemn others. These are Wahhabis. These are I don't know what. These are I don't know what. Okay? He just throws names like that. Okay, what do you do in your Sufism? Well, I go to graves and I start praying to them, and I go to what? No. What are you doing? What are you? Is this Sufism? It's not Sufism, actually. So therefore, or somebody who just pretends and claims that he's a Sufi, or he's close to. What does he do? He wears a specific clothes. He goes to some festivals and so on. I don't know what, and that's it. There's a Sufis. Actually, these aren't Sufis. These are just people who claim to be Sufis. and pretend that they are Sufis, but actually they're not. So therefore, this is what Imam Zarruq wants to say. Number 12. Principle number 12. The nobleness of something may be due to its essence, so that it's sought only for the sake of its essence, or it may be due to its benefits, so that it is sought as a means of reaching that benefit, or it may be due to something connected with it, so that the benefits is in seeking the related matter. As a result of that, it has been said, knowledge without action is a means without purpose, and action without knowledge is an offense. The intelligence is the best way to know Him, and knowledge of God Most High is the most excellent knowledge, because it is the most sublime. Knowledge that is sought for its own sake is the best knowledge, because its special attribute is in its essence, such as the knowledge of the reverential fear of God and of intimacy with Him, and the like. Accordingly, he whose actions do not reflect his knowledge, then his knowledge acts against him, not for him. And sometimes this testifies the knowledge having left him. It is, if his knowledge had been conditioned by his action, if only by way of perfect his knowledge. So understand this and reflect upon it. Okay, what he's saying here actually goes, it's similar to what we spoke about before. Now he wants to say that when you want to be referred to something that makes you high in a high rank, therefore, it's, if you search for it and you spend all of your time searching for it, then you find yourself starting to become part of it. Or you find a lot of benefits in it, so you search for it to benefit from it. Now, what about somebody who knows a lot but he doesn't practice? Or he does lots of things but without knowledge. This is a problem, and this is a problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, "O you who believe, why do you say things that you don't do? It's a very, very great sin to say something that you don't practice. And the vice versa. How can you worship Allah with ignorance? How can you practice things that you don't have any evidence on it?" That's why the Salaf said, "Man amila fi ma la ya'lam kana ma yufsiduhu akthara ma yuslihuhu." The one that does without knowledge, he ruins more than fixing. So both of these things are wrong, totally wrong. And therefore, so knowledge of God Almighty is the highest and the best knowledge in the world, because this is the highest knowledge that you can get. Knowing Allah Almighty, knowing His attributes, being close to Him, all these things. But this is the reason of the creating people. Now, this knowledge that it's needed for it's not for something else, for the same knowledge. This is the best knowledge that you can search for. Because it makes you go close to Allah, makes you love Allah Almighty, etc. So if you go following this knowledge and then you don't change in your life, what's the reason of this knowledge? And I know a lot of people that claim that they're Sufis, but they don't change. That Sufism doesn't change anything in their lives. They don't even they are not considered as religious people. I told you many times that nowadays many agencies, many high agencies demand governments to encourage Sufism because they want a type of Sufism that is like Christianity. It doesn't change people. You just have gospel songs, you dance, you eat, and maybe you can go to shrines and do all these types of things. This is Sufism, that's it. That's what we want. Nothing else. A girl can be without hijab, a woman without hijab, and she's Sufi. A man without any practicing anything, and he's considered as a Sufi. And sometimes they have the Sufis of the whole world from all religions. Oh, this is a disaster actually. A Sufi who's Christian, who's a Jew, who's Buddhi, who's I don't know what, and a Muslim with them. This is actually tricking yourself. Okay? So, the Imam Zarruq rahimahullah wants to say that if you are a real Sufi, you have to practice religion, you have to do what you know, practice what you know. So if you don't see that in your life, you're a liar. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَظْهَرْ لَهُ نَتِيجَةُ عِلْمِهِ فِي عَمَلِهِ فَعِلْمُهُ عَلَيْهِ لَا لَهُ. This knowledge, if we don't see it on you, if it doesn't change your life, this is going to be against you in the Judgment Day. And you're going to be one of, who are the three guys that are going to be thrown in hellfire? First guys that are going to be thrown in the hellfire. Alim wa mujahid wa munfiq. A scholar and a one who is mujahid and a one who spent money in this near people in the sake of Allah. Why? The scholar didn't do that because it's in the sake of Allah. And he used to ask people to do things and he doesn't do them. The second one, the scholar, the mujahid, he didn't do it. He just wants to seem as a brave guy. And the guy who spends money, he wants people to say, well, he's generous. These are the three guys that are going to be thrown in hellfire. Okay, there's a lot to say. I think just leave it here, inshallah. And we'll meet, inshallah, next lecture. Alhamdulillah, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, jazakumullah khairah.